The suspensions came quietly. No morning announcement, no email blast, just empty desks and whispers. Chase, Brielle Dillon. 2 weeks off campus. Mandatory counseling. A note home to parents that used the phrase behavior inconsistent with district values. Students noticed, not because anyone missed them, but because for once, something actually happened. The district released a statement that afternoon. We are implementing a new anonymous reporting system to better support students in documenting concerns of bias, bullying or harassment. It came with a form, a hotline, a QR code on freshly printed posters taped to bathroom doors and the back of stall walls. Some students laughed, some rolled their eyes, but others paused, scanned, looked around differently, because now the silence didn't feel as safe for anyone. Mariah was called to the main office the next day. This time no surprise, no anxiety, just calm. She was offered a seat on the newly formed Student Equity and Belonging Committee, a title, a badge, a spot on the website next to a diversity quote and a smiling stock photo. She listened politely, then shook her head once. I don't need a title, she said. I just needed the truth to echo. The room went quiet. Mr. Jennings nodded slowly, like he wanted to say something else but didn't know how to shape the words. Mariah stood, thanked them for their time, and left. The halls weren't different, exactly, but they felt different. Teachers made eye contact now. Students who never spoke to her before said things like that was brave, and I saw the clip, you handled that. She never asked for recognition, didn't want it, but she did want the shift, and she got it, in small ways. In the way her name was finally pronounced right, in the way 2 freshmen sat with her at lunch, and didn't ask if the seat was taken. They just stayed. She even got a note in her locker one day. Folded paper. No name. Just 7 words. You reminded me I wasn't alone. She kept it. Not for the memory, but for the proof that silence can build things. Not just tension, not just fear, but also momentum. Because once people start listening, it's harder to stop. And Mariah Foster had made them listen, without ever raising her voice. The hallway looked the same. Same scuffed tile. Same flickering light near the stairwell. Same echo of lockers slamming and sneakers dragging. But something in the air had changed. Mariah walked like she always did. Back straight. Steps quiet. Books tucked neatly against her side. Hoodie sleeves pulled just past her wrists. No makeup. No performance. Just her. A door swung open up ahead, held by a boy she didn't know. He didn't say anything. Just met her eyes and waited. She nodded once. He nodded back. No awkward smile. No forced hey. Just recognition. Miss Keller passed her in the hallway and gave a small nod. Not a smile. Not overcompensation. Just a kind of quiet respect Mariah wasn't used to seeing in daylight. She didn't slow down. Didn't break pace. Because she hadn't changed. They had. A group of students whispered near the lockers. But when Mariah walked past they stopped. One of them straightened up, another gave a half smile. Not mocking, not sarcastic, just human. And for the first time in a long time, the silence didn't sting. It held space. She reached her locker, opened it, swapped her books like always. Down the hall, a girl with braids and cracked nail polish was being talked over by 2 boys during a group project. Mariah watched for a second. Then the teacher stepped in. Let her speak. The girl blinked, surprised, then kept talking. Mariah turned back to her locker, closed it, and for a second, she let herself breathe a little deeper. Because the hallway was still loud, still crowded, still full of all the chaos high school could hold, but it no longer swallowed her. It noticed her now, and when she walked it moved with her, not out of fear, but out of awareness. And sometimes, that's all it takes. Not a war, not a speech. Not even a name tag, just someone refusing to shrink, until the space around them remembers how to expand. If Mariah's story made you pause, reflect or see your own hallway in a new light, don't scroll past. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. And if you've ever been dismissed, overlooked or told to stay quiet, remember silence is not weakness. It's strategy. Raise awareness. Start the ripple. Let the truth echo. They laughed when she dropped her books. Loud, cruel, and on purpose. But when she bent down to pick them up, she smiled. Not because it was funny, because they had no idea what she was about to do next. And by the time the school realized, it was too late to look away. The bell rang, sharp and sudden, like a warning no one listened to. Students poured out of classrooms, voices rising, lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking on linoleum floors. Mariah Foster kept close to the wall, her backpack snug on one shoulder, arms wrapped around her textbooks like armor. She walked the same route she always did, past the vending machines, under the flickering light, 3 doors down from Mr. Hanley's chem lab. Head down, steps even, invisible on purpose. That's when it happened. A foot shot out, fast, deliberate. Her boot caught it, and the world tilted. Books flew, her knees hit first, then her hands. Pages scattered like leaves. Her calculator skittered across the tile, slamming against a locker. For a second, it was quiet. Then the laughter came. Sharp, loud. Too loud. Brielle's voice cut through it first. "Oops," she said, mock sweet. "Didn't see you there." Chase snorted. Dylan clapped like someone just scored a goal. Behind them a few students slowed. Some chuckled. Most didn't stop walking, just kept moving like stepping around a backpack was easier than stepping into what just happened. Mariah didn't speak. She sat on her knees, palms stinging, heartbeat loud in her ears. She reached for her notebooks one at a time, slow, precise. Her hand shook once. She stopped, took a breath, then kept going. Brielle leaned down, smiling like they were old friends. "You good, Mariah? Or should we call the honor roll nurse?" Chase lifted his phone. "Yo, get this. She looks like she's doing community service." Click, flash, laugh. Mariah didn't flinch. Behind them Miss Keller stood near the stairwell, coffee in one hand, clipboard in the other. She saw, they all saw, but she just turned and walked the other way. Mariah gathered her last book, stood, and adjusted her glasses. Her eyes scanned the hall, not frantic, not scared, just recording, quietly. Then she looked at them, not long, just enough. Chase lowered his phone. Brielle blinked. Dylan still laughed, but it sounded thinner now. Mariah didn't say a word. She turned and walked toward her next class, back straight, arms tight around her books, as if nothing had happened. But something had. Not the fall, not the laughter, not even the silence that followed. It was the smile, small, calm, and quick. The kind of smile that didn't say, "That hurt." The kind that said, "You just made a mistake." Mariah picked up her history book first, then the folder, then the math workbook with the corner bent, and someone else's footprint across the cover. Her fingers moved slowly, like they weren't in a rush, like she'd done this before. She had. Behind her, Chase angled his phone slightly, not even pretending to be subtle. "Yo, tilt your head a little," he said. "This lighting is fire." Brielle laughed, too loud for the hallway. "Is that the same hoodie from Monday? Girl, it's giving thrift store loyalty card." Mariah didn't answer, didn't blink. She just reached for her pen, then her binder, each movement careful, deliberate, like she wasn't picking up scattered school supplies. She was stacking evidence, because tucked beneath the plastic tag on her backpack, zipper was a keychain, silver, round, one of those freebie gifts from a robotics competition she never talked about. It looked like a compass. It wasn't. It was recording. The tiny mic had been running since third period. Mariah always turned it on before lunch. Habit, not because she expected something to happen, just because she knew how people got when they thought no one was watching. Especially people like Chase, like Brielle. "Bet she irons those jeans herself," Brielle whispered, loud enough to be overheard. "Or her mom does. Bet they starch everything." Chase chuckled, phone still up. "You think her mom even speaks English?" Mariah didn't stop stacking her papers, didn't flinch, didn't look up. But her thumb brushed the side of the keychain, twice, quickly. That was her mark, timestamp. She knew how to edit audio, knew how to pull the file, clean the background noise, isolate the voices. She'd done it before, not for this, for debate team, but skills transfer. Chase zoomed in, still recording. Brielle pretended to fix her hair in her phone camera, smiling like this was some kind of morning show. What they didn't notice was the group of freshmen watching from the corner, silent, phones down. A few of them frowned. One girl shifted uncomfortably, but no one said anything. Mariah slid the last paper into her folder, zipped her backpack, and stood. Her hair had fallen forward a little, covering her face. She tucked it behind one ear slowly. Chase lowered his phone like he expected a reaction. Brielle folded her arms. Mariah looked up, finally. Her eyes met Chase's, then Brielle's, just for a second. Long enough. Then she walked away. No words, no comeback, just a bag full of books, a keychain full of proof, and a memory sharp enough to split silence wide open. It didn't start in the hallway. That was just the moment it got loud enough for people to hear. The real story had been whispering behind her for months. Like in biology, when Mariah got assigned to a group with Dylan and Brielle, she did the work. Made the slides, built the experiment model from scratch at her kitchen table. But when it came time to present, Brielle took the clicker, Dylan took credit, and Mariah got a thanks for helping. Or in homeroom, when Mr. Charles read the morning announcements and stumbled over her last name, Foster, one syllable, clean, easy. But he dragged it out like it was foreign. Faster, he said once. She corrected him, once. He never said it right again. She'd stopped raising her hand in that class. At the fall formal planning meeting she volunteered for decorations. 3 other girls said they'd text her. They never did. The theme changed. The meeting moved. When Mariah showed up to the cafeteria on Saturday morning with a box of paper lanterns, the room was already half set up. No one looked her way, so she turned around and walked home. It was a pattern, not one big bruise, just tiny cuts that kept reopening. The way Brielle once called her eloquent, like it was a surprise. The way Chase repeated what she said in class, then got credit for it. The way teachers looked through her. Once in English, she brought up how a character's silence was a survival tactic. Mr. Doyle blinked and said, "Interesting perspective," then turned to a student named Harper and asked her to explain it again. In simpler terms, Harper said the same thing. Slower. The class nodded. Mariah stared at her desk until the bell rang. Outside of school, she didn't talk about it much. Her mom worked late shifts at the clinic. Her little brother was too young to understand, and telling someone meant turning whispers into storms. She wasn't afraid of storms. She just wasn't ready to be the one blamed for the weather. So she documented, mentally, mostly, a running log in her head. Date, time, incident. But sometimes when it got too much, she wrote it down. Tiny notes scribbled in the margins of her planner. 12/9, history class. Chase, is it even your culture? 1/12. Jim, Brielle, you have good hair for your skin tone. 2/2. Chem, Dylan, you're not like other black girls. Every joke had the same punchline. You don't belong. The hallway trip wasn't a surprise. It was a crescendo, the end of a long, slow song that only she had been hearing. But that's the thing about music. Eventually someone else hears the beat. Mariah Foster lived in a small apartment on the east side of town, above a laundromat that smelled like bleach and warm cotton. Her room had no door, just a curtain, but the walls were lined with books, not for show, for escape. Baldwin, Octavia, Maya, physics textbooks cracked open beside sticky notes that read "Review before Tuesday. You've got this." Her mother Rochelle used to be valedictorian at the same school. Class of '98. She still had the medal, hung on the back of the closet door next to her scrubs. Rochelle never bragged. She just expected, not perfection, but purpose. "Don't let people tell you who you are," she used to say. "Let them find out when it's too late to stop you." Mariah listened, always did. At school she didn't run with anyone. Not because she didn't want to, but because silence was armor, and some crowds cracked easy under pressure. She sat near the back, never late, always prepared. Her notes were immaculate, color-coded, folded edges, clean handwriting, ink that never bled.
Teachers called her a model student.
Students called her quiet, intense, that girl who always looks like she's judging you. She wasn't. She was observing, because Mariah understood something most kids didn't. Being right wasn't the same as being heard. She learned that the hard way in 7th grade. Group project. She carried it. Presentation, data, even the printed visuals. The teacher gave everyone the same grade. Team effort, he said. Mariah never forgot it. By 9th grade, she'd stopped asking to be seen, started learning how to be remembered instead.
She didn't argue.
She documented. Notebooks became timelines. Her planner held more truth than any school counselor ever asked for. And while other students joked in the halls and scrambled through test reviews, Mariah was building something invisible. A map, a memory, a way through. She knew who got second chances. She knew who got warnings. She knew who was told, "It's just a misunderstanding," and who was told,
"You're overreacting."
She wasn't bitter. She was ready. And she noticed things, small things. How the principal always smiled wider at the PTA moms in pearls than the ones in Walmart shoes. How the counselor's tone changed depending on last names. How Dylan called her articulate, but never said the same about Harper, who said less but looked more like him. Mariah wasn't angry. Not yet. But she was full of moments, of facts, of things no one thought she was smart enough or bold enough to remember. And when the moment came, when her books hit the floor and laughter filled the hallway, she wasn't shocked. She was already taking notes. The walls in Miss Logan's office were painted soft yellow, supposed to feel calming, comforting, like a safe place. On the far wall hung a poster that said, "Be the change you wish to see." It curled at the corners. Mariah sat in the plastic chair across from the desk, spine straight, backpack on her lap. She didn't shift, didn't fidget. She had come prepared. She listed the hallway incident, the trip, the laughter. She mentioned Brielle's comments, Chase's phone, the fake apology, the way no one stepped in. Miss Logan nodded, slowly, like each word was being translated in her head into something less urgent. She said finally, pen tapping against her clipboard. "So you felt like they were targeting you?" Mariah's jaw tensed. They were. It wasn't subtle. Miss Logan smiled gently. "Right. I hear you. I do. But sometimes, especially in high school, tone can be tricky. You know." Mariah didn't blink. "I know what I heard." Miss Logan tilted her head. "Could it be that you're maybe interpreting things through a certain lens? You're a very intelligent young woman. Sometimes highly sensitive students pick up on things others don't mean as harm." There it was. Sensitive. Mariah sat back slightly. Not defeated, just realigned. "Did you see the video?" she asked. Miss Logan hesitated. "I've heard about it. But no, not directly. I can send it to you." "I don't think that's necessary," Miss Logan said quickly. "We don't want to escalate a situation that might just be a misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. The word tasted like dust. Mariah looked at the poster again. "Be the change." She stood. "Thanks for your time," she said, voice level. Miss Logan blinked. "Wait, Mariah, let's talk about strategies. Maybe we can work on resilience. Some healthy ways to respond if something like this happens again." Mariah's hand was already on the doorknob. "I already did," she said. "I reported it." Then she left. The hallway outside felt colder than before. Students passed her like moving shadows, laughing, yelling, tapping lockers shut. But Mariah didn't hear them. All she heard was that word. Sensitive. As if noticing disrespect made her fragile. As if discomfort was hers to fix. She reached into her pocket and pressed the side button on her recorder. Stopped the file. Labeled it Logan. Minimization. She wasn't angry. She was done asking to be believed. Now she was collecting proof. The lunchroom buzzed like always. Trays clattering, sneakers dragging, voices tumbling over each other in too many directions. Mariah sat at her usual corner table, alone but unbothered, eyes on her book, half-eaten apple untouched beside her water bottle. Across the room, Chase leaned in toward Brielle and Dylan, grinning. "Ready for the experiment," he said, not bothering to whisper. Dylan laughed. "Hypothesis. The more pages she turns, the louder the sighs." Brielle pulled out a notebook and pretended to write. "Data log. Subject appears stressed. Possible exposure to too much knowledge." Chase hit record. They weren't subtle. That was the point. Mariah turned another page in her book. Slow, calm, fingers steady. Behind her, the camera zoomed in. "Control conditions met," Dylan said, using a pen to tap against the table like a metronome. "Let's test again." "She's got librarian posture," Brielle whispered. "Watch her back. It's like she's balancing all the trauma of being smarter than everyone." Laughter again. Mariah blinked once, exhaled softly. "Did you hear that?" Chase said, mock serious. "Mark that. Sign number 3. Write it down." She didn't turn around, didn't engage. But her backpack was already unzipped, her phone already on, the screen dark, camera aimed just right, sound picking up everything. She read 3 more pages, then closed the book gently, gathered her things, walked out. The video hit their private group chat before the period ended. Bro, she didn't even flinch. One comment said, "Cold." That night, Mariah sat at her desk in the dim light of her bedroom, book still open beside her, earbuds in. She scrubbed through the audio, clipped it clean, no faces, no names, just words, tone, silence. She opened a blank profile, no picture, no bio, just one post, black text on a white background. This is what it looks like when silence is used like a weapon. Below it she attached the audio file. The sigh, the mocking, the way they laughed like the room was theirs. She didn't tag anyone, didn't reply when the comments started, but she saw them. Damn, this hit. Sounds familiar. Same thing happened at our school. No one believed her. Why does this feel like a documentary and a warning at the same time? By morning the post had 312 shares. Mariah walked through the halls like always. Quiet, steady, eyes forward. The same but not. Because now someone was listening, and she hadn't even said a word. By midnight, the post had 214 likes. Mariah watched the number tick up while brushing her teeth. Earbuds in, screen dimmed to the lowest setting. Not because she needed validation, but because she needed to know she wasn't imagining it. By 6:47 a.m., it was over 800. She didn't tell anyone. Not her mum, not the group chat from AP Lit she never spoke in, not even the girl who sat 2 rows behind her in chem, and once asked if they could study together. She just watched. Comments multiplied, quiet ones, measured. A few angry. Most tired. Been there. Why is this always our normal? They know what they're doing. They just count on no one saying it out loud. She didn't reply, but she saved every word. Screenshots in a folder labeled Echo. That night she posted again. No caption this time. Just a 9-second audio clip. The hallway. Footsteps. A thud. Then Brielle's voice sharp and sugary. Oops. Didn't see her. Laughter. Then silence. Not peaceful. Not empty. The kind that knows. The kind that says someone was there. Someone heard. Someone chose to walk away. No teacher name. No location. But people recognize the sound. The tone. The way pain gets stretched into background noise. By morning the clip had reached a student group 3 cities over. The Central High Black Student Coalition reposted it with the tag. This is what covert bullying sounds like. Pay attention. Now it had a pulse. Teachers at Mariah's school whispered in the copy room. The vice principal asked the media department to track down where the audio came from. It said it wasn't from the school server. At lunch Chase scrolled past the post on his For You page and frowned. Wait, is that us? Brielle froze. No way. She didn't record that. She didn't even say anything. Dylan muttered. She never says anything. And that was the problem. Because silence was supposed to mean surrender. But Mariah had used it like a mirror. And now everyone could see what they'd been trying to laugh away. She still hadn't spoken. Not publicly. Not once. But her post had. 9 seconds. And the hallway wasn't quiet anymore. The first sign was the tone shift. Not in the students always knew before anyone admitted it. It was the teachers. Miss Keller stopped sipping her coffee at the front desk and started watching the hallways more closely. Mr. Doyle's usual sarcasm in first period turned hesitant softer around the edges. Coach Herndon told his class to keep it respectful, without pointing at anyone in particular. Whispers passed like folded notes between classrooms. Did you see the clip? Who posted it? Do we know who the girl is? No one said Mariah's name, but they didn't have to. Principal Jennings called an emergency staff meeting after school, the kind where the clock ticks louder than the room. Teachers filed in, tired, annoyed, quiet. He stood at the front, hands folded, told them the school was aware of a concerning viral post, that there was no conclusive evidence yet, but if students are feeling unsafe, it's our job to listen. A few teachers nodded like it mattered. A few crossed their arms. Mr. Hanley cleared his throat. Any idea who it is? Jennings didn't answer, because they didn't know. All they had was sound, words, laughter, a girl's voice saying nothing, and everything. Meanwhile, Mariah walked the hallways just like always, books close to her chest, hood up on colder days, earbuds in with no music playing. She didn't linger, didn't rush. She moved like still water, unbothered on the surface, deep underneath. Students noticed. Some looked at her twice. One girl in her history class whispered, "I think it's her." Another boy shook his head. "Nah, she's too quiet." That made her smile. Brief, barely, too quiet. As if silence meant powerless. As if the person they laughed at couldn't be the one making the whole building nervous. By Friday, the guidance office had sent an email blast. "If you've experienced or witnessed inappropriate behavior, please come talk to us. We're here to support you." Mariah read it once, didn't delete it, just moved it to a folder labeled later, because she wasn't done yet. Not with her posts. Not with her proof. They still didn't know it was her. But the school felt different now. Like a curtain had been lifted, and no one was sure what they were supposed to do with the light. And Mariah, quiet, unreadable Mariah, walked through that light like she'd lived in it all along. Brielle found her by the lockers near the east stairwell, just after third period, when the halls were half empty, and the noise had dipped to a dull hum. Mariah was sliding her math book into her bag when she heard the footsteps. Fast, too purposeful. "Hey," Brielle said, breathless like she'd just run from somewhere. "Can we talk?" Mariah didn't move, didn't answer, just zipped her backpack and turned slowly. Brielle smiled, tight, nervous. The kind of smile that only shows up when someone's caught. "I just wanted to say sorry," she began. "For, like, the joke. In the hallway. It was dumb. We weren't trying to be mean. It just came out wrong." Mariah blinked. Once. Brielle kept going too fast. "And the Psy thing, that was Chase. I mean, we all kinda went along with it, but he's the one who thought it'd be funny. I didn't mean anything by it." "Seriously?" Mariah nodded. Just slightly. Not in agreement. Just acknowledgement. Brielle paused. Watched her. Waited. "You believe me, right?" Mariah looked at her, eyes unreadable. Then she said nothing. Not because she didn't have anything to say, but because some silences are louder than any answer. What Brielle didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Mariah's phone was already recording, tucked in the pocket of her hoodie. Screen dark. Mic hot. She hadn't planned to use it today. But something about the way Brielle had followed her across 2 hallways made her press the side button twice, without thinking. Now the app was catching every word. The stumble, the shift in tone, the part where sorry didn't mean remorse. It meant damage control. Brielle shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "Look, I just don't want this to blow up any more than it already has, okay?" Mariah tilted her head. There it was. Not "I didn't mean to hurt you." Not "I understand now." Just, "Don't let this affect me." Mariah slung her backpack over one shoulder, still silent. "You're not gonna say it was me, right?" Brielle asked. Softer now. "We were all just messing around." Still Mariah didn't speak. She turned, walked away, left Brielle standing there, alone in a hallway that suddenly felt too wide, too bright, too full of echoes. In Mariah's pocket. The app kept running. She'd label it later. Apology attempted. Because the thing about fake apologies is, they sound real enough, until you play them back. The auditorium smelled like old curtains and burnt popcorn. Every student was herded in. No exceptions. No passes. Teachers lined the walls like guards. The slide on the projector read, "Respect, culture, community," in bold blue font. Mariah sat near the middle, 3rd row from the back, hood down, eyes forward, hands folded in her lap. Principal Jennings walked out holding a microphone, like he didn't want to be holding it. "Good morning," he said. "We wanted to take time today to remind everyone of our shared values, respect, kindness, and accountability." He used his press conference voice. Too careful, too clean. The slideshow began. Stock photos of smiling kids in diversity posters. A quote from Maya Angelou, another from Gandhi. A bulleted list. Listen, reflect, include. It felt like someone had Googled how to solve racism in 45 minutes, and turned it into a PowerPoint. Then came the drama club. A student monologue about bullying. 2 kids pantomimed pushing each other in slow motion. Someone fake cried. A single clap echoed too early. Mariah didn't move. Her mind wasn't on the stage. It was on her phone, still in her pocket, vibrating softly from notifications she wouldn't check until later. After the performance, the principal returned. "We know there's been a lot of conversation online," he said, gaze skimming the crowd but never landing. "And while we can't comment on individual situations, we want you to know, this is a safe space. We hear you." That's when a hand went up. Not high, just enough to be seen. Mariah recognized the girl. Delaney, soft-spoken, straight A's, never late. Mr. Jennings tried to pivot. "We appreciate your engagement," but Delaney stood up anyway. "Is this about the hallway video?" she asked, loud enough for the mic to pick up. The room stilled. A teacher near the front looked down at her clipboard like it had answers. One student coughed. Another whispered, "Wait, what video?" Mariah didn't turn. She kept her eyes on the stage. The principal adjusted his tie. "We're here today to talk about respect in general. Not any one incident, but that's the one everyone's actually talking about," Delaney said. Not defiant, just honest. "And if we're not gonna say it, why are we here?" No one laughed, because it wasn't funny anymore. It was real. It had a shape now, a voice. Not Mariah's, not yet, but someone else had broken the silence. And once that happened, pretending didn't work anymore. Mariah didn't rush. She walked to the front office just after the first bell, when the halls were still half asleep and no one was paying attention. The secretary looked up from her keyboard, blinking behind purple-rimmed glasses. "Yes." Mariah set her backpack down gently and folded her hands. Her voice was soft, measured. "I'd like to speak at the next school board meeting." The woman tilted her head, caught off guard. "Are you with a student group?" "No." "Is this about something specific?" Mariah didn't blink. "I have something recorded that you might want to hear." There was a pause. Not long. Just enough for the woman to register that this wasn't a joke, that Mariah wasn't guessing. She was certain. "Give me one moment," the secretary said, rising from her chair a little too fast. Mariah waited. Still, calm. The tick of the wall clock filled the silence like background music. Principal Jennings came out 10 minutes later, trying to mask the look on his face, part concern, part calculation. "Mariah," he said, smile tight. "Why don't we step into my office?" She didn't. "I'd prefer to speak at the board meeting," she repeated, tone neutral. "That way, there's a record." The smile slipped. "I see," he said, like he didn't. "Well, of course. I'll pass that request along to the board secretary. They'll reach out about the process." Mariah nodded once, picked up her backpack. She didn't gloat, didn't smirk. She just walked out the same way she came in. Quiet, steady, unshaken. Behind her the front office buzzed to life. Phones lifted, whispered questions started. But Mariah didn't need to hear it. She already knew what came next. She had made the first move in daylight. No posts, no audio clips, no shadows, just her voice, calm and controlled. Because when you've spent months being invisible, there's power in choosing when and how you're seen. And Mariah Foster had just made herself undeniable. The room wasn't packed, but it felt full. Parents in folding chairs, board members at the long table up front, a few teachers scattered near the back, trying not to look nervous. A reporter from the Fresno Sun scribbled quietly near the exit. Mariah sat in the second row, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands, phone in her pocket. She didn't speak, didn't fidget. She had already sent the file, already labeled it, already timed the clip down to the second. When they called her name, she stood, walked to the podium without notes, without a glance around the room. "I was told this meeting was about creating a safer environment for students," she said, her voice steady. "So I brought something that might help." She handed a small flash drive to the board secretary. "It's 9 minutes long. You only need the first 2. They hesitated, until Principal Jennings gave a tight nod. The lights dimmed. The screen flickered to life. It started with footsteps, then a locker slam, then Brielle's voice, light and sharp. "Oops, didn't see her." Laughter. Then Dylan. "You ever notice how she acts like she's the main character?" Then Chase. "Yo, say something smart. Mariah, come on, solve racism." More laughter. Then silence, the kind that lands heavy. Then a teacher's voice, low and annoyed. "All right, that's enough. Just get to class." And then the bell. That was it. No yelling, no violence. Just voices. Names. The tone people swear doesn't exist. The lights came back on too slowly. No one clapped. One parent near the front shifted in her seat, arms crossed tighter than before. Another leaned toward her daughter and whispered something neither of them would remember. A teacher in the back, Miss Keller, dabbed at the corner of her eye with a tissue she tried to hide. Board member Rowan cleared his throat. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Miss Foster? Mariah shook her head. The rest is worse. A pause. Then she stepped away from the podium, walked back to her seat. No expression, no performance, just presence, because the truth didn't need a spotlight. It already knew how to make people uncomfortable.